welcome to the King's Court. My name is Kabir Alwaya, and here's Kermit Alwaya right here for you. Guys, in today's show, obviously we'll be hitting you with the upcoming sneaker releases as always. We have a new sneaker of the week right here. We kind of previewed it on our show about 2 weeks ago or something, and but we decided to switch it later on in the show and replace it with the Kith Adidas shoes. So they're back here for you, and we're gonna review them today for you guys. They're a really nice shoe, and as far as basketball goes, we gotta hit basketball every single day. I'm gonna kind of fire certain teams that Kermit, and he's gonna tell me if he thinks they're playoff and title contenders or pretenders. But first, Kermit, let's get started with this. The Lakers have looked surprisingly a lot better since in their past few games than they did obviously earlier in the season. Some may say it's because Nick Young is back, but I mean that could be overlooked. But I'm just gonna ask you, what do you think is like the ultimate conclusion for the Lakers, like what their final record will be if they'll make the playoffs, and just like the overall status of the Lakers once the season's over?
So Kabir, my predictions for the Lakers whenever the season comes to a close is I think they're gonna miss the playoffs, and I think that's the cruel reality that is what it is. The Lakers. The fact is that the Western Conference is just way too difficult and way too competitive for the Lakers to even impose their slightest mark in it. Now, if we're talking about the Eastern Conference, then maybe the Lakers would have a chance, but I still think it would be kind of tough for them. I think they could pull off the 7th or 8th seed in like the Eastern Conference, but it's just a testament to see how actually competitive the Western Conference is. Now, for the Lakers, I just don't see them fitting together well enough to win enough games, compile enough wins to get a spot in the playoffs. Now, the way I see Kobe's job right now is similar to what I believe to what LeBron is trying to do in Cleveland. Now, obviously, it's on a much smaller scale, and there's less expectations. But Kobe is the veteran on the Lakers team, surrounded by a bunch of rookies and a bunch of very young players who have some sort of talent but just don't know how to use it. And LeBron's role is very similar right now. He's on the Cleveland team with a bunch of young players, and it's his job to rally them all together and all play for that common goal to win a championship. Now, I think for Kobe and LeBron are obviously different players, and they approach these kind of problems in different ways. LeBron goes with the more laissez-faire mentality. He tries to pass the ball, share the ball, and like kind of have other people do what they do, and LeBron will try to accustom to what their style of play is. Kobe Bryant is on the opposite side of the spectrum, where he shoots the entire game. I'm not saying this in a negative way, because that's who Kobe Bryant is, and people love him for that. People love his competitive spirit and his fiery nature. So Kobe Bryant, he's completely opposite, because Kobe Bryant loves to shoot, and if he thinks that you don't have the capability to score, he won't pass you the ball. That's the fact. Now, that's why I see the Lakers not being able to get over the playoff hump, because the type of leadership that Kobe Bryant has won't fit with all the young players around him on that Lakers team, and it's just that like Kobe is too old now, and there's an injury possibility. He can't play all those minutes that he used to play through in his younger years throughout the entire season, especially this season at 36 years of age. And you already see his field goal percentage is deteriorating by each game, and it's just getting worse and worse for the Lakers. Actually, scratch that. The Lakers just got Nick Young back, and they have been playing better, but I think that will eventually peak, and it will just plateau, and the Lakers will just go back to a normal state of not playing to very quality standards. And I think that will be the trend throughout the entire season. And when you see when the season comes to an end, don't expect the Lakers to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, so Kermit, I'd probably have to agree with you on what you think about the Lakers end results. There's a couple ways to look at this. Kobe Bryant, first of all, he's 37 years old. I mean, he's a beast still. He averages 27 points a game, but like at his age and at his health, obviously he's coming back from a big injury. There's only so much that he can actually do to will his team to the playoffs even, and the Lakers just aren't talented enough to make the playoffs in the Western Conference. Like their second best player is probably Carlos Boozer, he just doesn't have that good reputation around the league for like being a consistent player. And then if you go down the list, their third best player is probably like Jeremy Lin or like Nick Young, and it just keeps going. So they don't really have that much talent to start with. Another thing is like if you look at the Lakers, it seems that ever since the David Stern veto of the Chris Paul trade to the Lakers, everything has kind of gone downhill from there. You saw after that happened, Lamar Odom felt a little disrespected by the Lakers organization that they were so quick to trade him to the New Orleans if it happened. So he was so disrespected that he left for the Dallas Mavericks, and then his career went spiraled down. Then you had Andrew Bynum starting. Andrew Bynum left the season after to, I mean he was injured and then he left the season after, and then we all kind of saw the deterioration of Andrew Bynum. He kind of became like, just like kind of like a bum in the NBA. He couldn't really get himself healthy. He was on the Sixers, couldn't get himself healthy. And then we also saw, Pau Gasol and Kobe Bryant were probably the only like two consistent Lakers after that trade. But then Kobe, obviously, 2 years ago, just got plagued with injury, and now Pau Gasol's gone. So, and that's like completely changed the mindset of the Lakers organization to be one that was in the lottery last year and that's focused on rebuilding now that they only have basically one legitimate player in Kobe Bryant, who's an extremely old player now who's soon to retire. So ever since then, the Lakers have just, I mean, it's really weird because for some reason it seems that every single year since that Knicks trade, he's been, or the health of the Lakers like as a team has been really bad. Like last year they had so many players injured. Like there was that one moment where they were playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think last year, and Chris Kaman was on the bench, and literally he was like laying down on the bench because that's how many open seats there were, because there were just that many players injured. There were that many players that he could just lay down right there on the bench, and I remember there was one game where the Lakers only had 5 players, one game where they only had 7 players, and even this year their guys are getting injured. Like you have the rookie Jordan Clarkson's getting injured, Julius Randle, Kobe could get injured. I mean, we hope not, but he could. Nick Young was injured. So it's just something that's weird that's kind of hit the Lakers organization in terms of health. So I think if you add all these things in, along with Kobe's age, he's not getting any younger, although he's still talented. I just don't think that with their lack of talent, their lack of health, consistent health, and just Kobe Bryant's inability to will his team despite his competitiveness, I just don't think that the Lakers will, be in the playoffs for sure. But I think that I can see them finishing as like 11th, probably like an 11th seed in the Western Conference, or like 10th seed at best would be my prediction for the Lakers. Alright, so now I'm going to be asking Kerman here, I'm just going to be giving him a list of teams. The list of teams are the teams that have gotten off to a really hot start so far in this NBA and have surprised a lot of people. So I'm just going to ask him if these teams are pretenders or contenders for the playoffs and for the finals. So I'm going to start with the playoffs, pretenders or contenders. First up is the Bucks. They've had a good record so far. So I'm just going to ask you, are the Bucks pretenders or contenders to make the Eastern playoffs?
I think it's pretenders for the Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm going to keep this answer short just for the sake of getting through the segment. But I think the Bucks, they don't have the talent necessary to make a deep playoff run, or even the basketball kind of mindset within the players on the team. Like none of them have much of an incentive to make the playoffs. Now the Bucks, I haven't seen a team on their schedule that's been of superior quality. That's pretty good. And the Bucks' record, it's okay. They're a little bit over 500, and I think because their schedule has not been the toughest, it just shows that they're an okay team. But I don't think they have what it takes to make the playoffs, because their player who's been playing the best, which is Brandon Knight, is in a contract year. And what we see with many NBA players is in their contract years, they just put in their full effort so they can get their big money next year when they're a free agent. Right. Now, but a player like Brandon Knight, he really has no motive to make the playoffs. He just wants to show NBA teams how well he can play. He doesn't have to prove that he can play well in the playoffs, because it's not expected from the Bucks. And especially with a rookie, their star is a rookie and they have a bunch of developing players. I just don't think that they have the talent necessary to put it all together at the end of the season and make the playoffs.
Okay, so moving on to the Western Conference, Another team that's gotten off to a hot start are the Sacramento Kings. So are they pretenders or contenders to make the West Conference playoff?
I think the Sacramento Kings are actually contenders, and I, I, I strongly believe this because of the emergence of DeMarcus Cousins. Now, over the summer, most of us looked at Anthony Davis' development as an NBA player individually, and we saw and we marveled at how well he was coming together as an NBA player, how well he could do so many aspects of the game. And I think many of us overlooked how many strides DeMarcus Cousins made in the offseason.
Right.
He was also part of that Team USA that Coach K coached,
Yeah.
and I think he learned from that. And and he's been showing it throughout the season thus far, and the Kings have been showing it as evident by their good record. And many people are actually saying that DeMarcus Cousins is playing as the league's best center to this point. Now that's very surprising. I think DeMarcus Cousins could earn his first All-Star nod, but yeah, Rudy Gay is also playing very well. Now that might have been for his contract, which he just recently signed with the Sacramento Kings. But I think Rudy Gay is also a quality player, and their signing of Darren Collison is a very big plus because Darren Collison is a true point guard. No ripping on Isaiah Thomas because Isaiah Thomas is more of a scorer, he's not really the passer at Darren Collison or the facilitator. I just think that the Sacramento Kings, as of now, they have the pieces around them to make a pretty decent playoff run.
All right, and to kind of finish off these playoff pretenders or contenders, we got the Pelicans. So,
Oh yeah, the Pelicans are definitely contenders, and I'm saying this with my full 100% agreement. If the Pelicans win, I think Anthony Davis is going to win MVP of the league. If the Pelicans make the playoffs, not win, sorry. But yeah, we just seen, like I said earlier, just talking about DeMarcus Cousins. We saw Anthony Davis's development in the offseason. We've said this so many times, how good this player can actually be. He has comparisons to Tim Duncan, comparisons to some of the best big men in NBA history. And he's just proving it. He's playing as probably the best players in the league right now, and the most consistent player. And his player efficiency rating is just through the roof. And not the Sacramento Kings, the New Orleans Pelicans, they've actually, last season, they were overlooked because their starting five is actually, they have a very talented starting five that was overlooked last season because many of their players were injured throughout the season, like Drew Holiday, Tyreek Evans, Ryan Anderson, and Eric Gordon. Those are all key players of their starting lineup that were all injured at some point last season, and those players hardly played many minutes together last season. But now this season, we're seeing them actually in the starting lineup and actually produce quality efforts because we're actually seeing how well they can play together. Now remember, Drew Holiday was formerly an All-Star not too long ago. And they also added Omer Asik, who's a quality big man who can get rebounds, get blocks, protect the rim, and he scores field goals at a high percentage. So I just think that all these pieces that New Orleans Pelicans have put together, I think they have a great chance to make actually a great run to the playoffs and maybe even make some of the better teams give them a run for their money.
All right, so now we got the NBA Finals, NBA titles, contenders, and pretenders. So this time I'm going to start in the Western Conference. Do you think that the Houston Rockets, they've gotten off to a good start, are contenders or pretenders to win the title?
Now, I think the Houston Rockets, they're an interesting case because many people see how well they've competed in the past, and they call them contenders just because of the talent they have surrounding them. But when we're talking about the scope of the best teams in the Western Conference as of now, and if you throw Houston into that mix, I'm going to call them a pretender compared to those rest of the top tier teams. Now, people are hyping over Houston Rockets right now because of the record and the hot start, and it's just kind of ridiculous because their schedule has been very easy, and they haven't faced many tough teams so far. And I just think that the pieces that Houston has this year compared to what they had last year is not on the same level of talent. They lost Jeremy Lin, they lost Omer Asik, they lost Chandler Parsons. Now they gained Trevor Ariza, who's a good addition, but I mean he's been playing actually very well. I'm actually surprised by how he's been playing, but I don't think that him along with the core of James Harden and Dwight Howard will be enough to make a real push and be a real threat in the playoffs, especially when you're facing those teams like the Clippers, the Spurs, and the Thunder if they make the playoffs when Durant and Westbrook get healthy, and even the Mavericks. Now, the Rockets, they have virtually not much depth at the bench. They have to revert to playing some very young players who most NBA fans don't have much idea about, and just seeing the Rockets as a team right now, Dwight Howard's not playing at the level that we're used to, as in like dominating the glass, as in scoring at ease. He's having a tough way to find how to score shots in the post, which is actually very surprising. And I do think that the Houston Rockets will get it together, but I think that whenever the playoffs come around, I don't think they'll be one of those teams that people will say can win a championship this year.
Okay, so you know, for me, let me just give my quick input on that. About Dwight Howard. You said that you're kind of surprised about Dwight Howard like not being able to score as easily in the post, but like I really never was like whenever I see a box score and I see that Dwight Howard like scored like 15 points or like 14 points, that doesn't really like surprise me because like I really don't think that he's that talented of a post player. He's extremely short for his position. Granted, he's really strong, so he can create a lot of space in the paint, but his footwork's not that good, and like I said, he's short. He has been working with Hakeem Olajuwon and Kevin McHale, but I mean, there's only so much that you can actually like perform on the court, like than like how you perform in practice, whatever those moves are that he was taught. And you know, a lot of like whenever Dwight Howard has like his monstrous nights where he scores like 30 points, 25 points, it's usually like when he's hitting his free throws. I mean, I never see Dwight Howard as a player who can like take over the game. Like if you look at other teams in the West, like the Thunder when they're healthy, Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook can both take over the game whenever they want. The Clippers, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin both can take over the game whenever they want. The Spurs, I mean, just the whole team can kind of take over the game when they want. I mean, Ginobili, Parker, and Duncan. And then, I mean, even the Blazers have Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge, and the Mavs have Dirk and Monte Ellis, and it kind of goes on and on. But if you look at the Rockets, they only have, like, James Harden. Just like watching the Rockets play in clutch moments, they never really give to Dwight, and rightfully so, because I just don't think that he can really produce. So that's just like what I think about the Rockets. So moving on, I'm going to ask you about the Memphis Grizzlies. Obviously, they're a defensive-oriented team, and oriented team, and that works for them. It has worked so far this year. So are they contenders or pretenders?
I think the Memphis Grizzlies are contenders this year. Now, if we remember, last year in the playoffs, they actually gave the Thunder a great run for their money. They pushed them to 7 games. And it was absolute fun. It was a great series to watch because every game went down to the wire. And I think though that series was kind of their welcome back home party, because years prior we saw Memphis play pretty well in the playoffs. I remember there was one series a couple years ago where they played very well against San Antonio, which was kind of Zach Randolph's emergence into the NBA. Now, I think from then they kind of slacked off a bit, but since the end of last year, I think they've gotten it together, especially with key additions of Vince Carter, their Courtney Lee, their late season addition last year, and I think those players will play dividends down the stretch. And because Memphis is known to be a very tough, very defensive-minded team to get up in your grill and just make you work for your points. And that's very evident in their hot start. That's the reason. That's how they're winning games, because they have those unstoppable big men who you just can't get by. And that pretty much negates any other big men that opposing teams have.
And Tony Allen, obviously.
Yeah, and Tony Allen. And the Memphis Grizzlies added some scorers onto their team who can actually put the ball in the basket, which was one of their issues last year. So I think all of that put together, I think the Memphis Grizzlies should be one of those names that are thrown into top teams, the top legit teams in the West. Because I asked even the most passionate of Spurs fans, the most passionate of Thunders fans, the most passionate of Clippers fans, and they all say, we hate playing the Grizzlies because of how tough they play.
Everyone's scared of the Grizzlies.
Yeah, and when playoff comes around, you don't want to play the Grizzlies. That's
right.
Just the fact, because they'll hurt you. So yeah, that's just
especially in Memphis.
Especially in Memphis. Their home court is just ridiculously advantageous. Now, like for all the reasons I just stated, I just think the Memphis Grizzlies should be one of those teams that people should be talking about to make a real deep push when the playoffs come around.
Okay, so last but certainly not least is a team that I really have come to like a lot, especially since I watched them last year in the playoffs, are the Toronto Raptors. They're playing extremely well. They're a really talented team overall, and just they mesh well. Like, obviously Masai Ujiri, their GM, is a really good GM at finding players who fit the system of his team. I'm just gonna ask you: are the Raptors contenders or pretenders?
Now, I have an interesting answer for this one because at this point I'm calling them pretenders, but much of that is actually based on the health of Derrick Rose,
Okay.
and like a lot of stuff is. I think Chicago's future and playoff aspirations are all centered around Derrick Rose's health, which is obvious. And I think if Derrick Rose is injured and has these lingering injuries that just keep up with him throughout the season to the point where he can't make an impact in the playoffs,
Yeah.
I think Chicago will just fall off the ladder, and I think Toronto will be the team to take its spot. But as of now, I'm calling Toronto a pretender, as much as I don't like to say that because I actually love to watch them play, and I've grown like a strong liking for their team. But I just don't think that they have the veteran leadership to push them through the playoffs into those long, arduous games, those tight moments. I don't think they have what it takes, and maybe they can prove me wrong. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, we all know, are great players. We're still waiting on Jonas Valanciunas to still kind of erupt into what some people think he could be. But I mean, the Raptors could still figure this out. There's still a lot of time to prove themselves. But at this point, from what I'm seeing, they're playing very well, but they just don't have the veteran leadership to make a deep push when it counts.
To me, just to kind of cap off this whole thing, I'd say that the Raptors are probably one piece away from being like surefire contenders. I think that like a player at the power forward position or like at the small forward position, I see Terrence Ross as more as like a backup, like shooting guard rather than like a starting small forward. So maybe like a really good small forward or like a good power forward could kind of complete this team. So that's just my pick right now. All right, y'all. So like always, we have the upcoming sneaker releases for you guys. But first, let's get started with like some pretty interesting news that came out the past couple of weeks. It's rumored there was actually a picture that leaked of a De La Soul Nike SB Dunk High, and this time it's not in the green colorway. Actually, if you guys remember, the low De La Soul SBs were the ones with the yellow all over the panel area, and they're actually gonna it's rumored that they will be making that into a high top shoe. Now we've kind of heard rumors, and we've seen that Nike's been releasing their like SB lows into highs. Obviously, starting with the Tiffany lows becoming highs, and the Cali lows becoming highs. There's also rumors that the Pigeon lows will become highs, and so that's just something that many people might get. The Cali SB highs, as compared to the lows, were actually a lot more. There were a lot more pairs available, and so as a result of that, they're a lot less valuable or revered or liked or whatever. But I still think they're nice, and from the preview, these De La Soul Dunk Highs look pretty nice as well. So for the upcoming shoes coming out, there are actually pictures that have surfaced of key Team Jordan members making their own player edition retro ones. You have Chris Paul, Carmelo Anthony, and Blake Griffin all releasing their own pair of ones. Each of them have their respective logo on the tongues. The Chris Paul one has a CP3 logo, and the shoe is basically like a midnight navy, university blue, Carolina blue type of color. And the Melo has his logo, and it's a gold and black colored shoe. And the Blake Griffin ones are basically just standard, red and white. And they kind of look like the Carmine ones which released, and they have his logo on the tongue. Now, all three of those are slated to release on the 20th of December for a price of $130 each. Another thing that to kind of look forward to is Jordan's 30th anniversary is coming up, and to honor that, they are releasing. So far, they have announced that they'll be releasing a pair of ones and a pair of fours, which are both laser colors. They're both matching colors. They're white predominantly, and they have the laser etching. And the ones are going to release on the 15th of February. The fours, they don't have a date yet, and neither of them have a price yet, but we'll be looking to get those in coming weeks as the release date approaches. And then finally, as the new year kind of comes around, we have the debut of the remastered collection that Jordan announced early this year, I gotta guess. And so the first ones for those will be the Columbia 4s, which come out on January 10th for a price of, I think it was $200. I don't think it's officially been confirmed yet, but right now I'm assuming it's $200 based on their whole, increase of quality on the shoe. And obviously after these 4s, they'll be followed by a bunch of other ones like the French Blue 7s and Oreo 4s and just a plethora of remastered Jordans. So look out for all of those shoes, guys. Every single one that I just named, I like a lot. So I hope you guys too, and I hope you guys can pick those up whenever the release date comes around. Alright, y'all, so now it's time for our sneak of the week. We brought these back, the Gold Trophy Roshe Hyper Fuses. So before I start getting into in-depth review, you can go ahead and give your analysis on them. I know you like the shoe a lot, so just tell them.
Yeah, I actually like this shoe like a ton because I'm just a huge fan of the gold, black, and white colorway, and like I haven't worn them yet, which is kind of sad because I want to show them off to a bunch of people. It's a great shoe to just show off, but I'm a huge fan of the suede all around the shoe, and this kind of, well, to me it just reminds me of like a sort of like a tribal print around the shoe, and it has like a leather interior, and the insoles are just really soft and just really nice to like feel, and it's a very comfortable shoe. I'm just a huge fan of them.
Yeah, so I'll kind of go over the shoe, but like just a kind of backstory about how much I like the shoe personally. I only have a couple of like dead stock pairs of shoes that I haven't worn. Like I usually like to wear all my shoes, and they're these, my Wash the Throne custom Roshes, which I just don't wear because I'm scared that the paint will come off when I wear them excessively. And like I have like a 2000, like a pair of Space Jams from 2000, and a pair of He Got Game 13s from 1997. And those shoes, like I just don't want to wear them. And for like I like these shoes so much that like I'm just kind of scared of wearing them because like it's all white and I really don't want to like get them dirty. So these were my first pair of Hyperfuse Roshes. I had no idea that the insole was like fuzzy or whatever, but I still don't really know what it feels like because I've never worn them. But just feeling it right now, it feels really good. So I'll just go over the shoe for you guys. You got a white panel right here, white suede. It feels really nice. Swoosh is straight. It's gold. Hence the name Gold Trophy. People thought that these were going to be released like along with the World Cup, but they were released a little bit after. So there's the gold swoosh right there. The midsole is white. It's the classic Roshe midsole, but this time they put gold speckles on it, which is a really nice accent. It kind of accents the gold swoosh right there. Moving to the front, you have the standard, the mesh toe, which that's like one part of the Roshes that you love and you hate because it's really weak, because like if something falls on your foot, then this is extremely thin. It doesn't really protect your foot, but then again it's really comfortable and it allows a lot of space, a lot of freedom for your toes to move around. So it's both something that you love and you hate. I probably love them a little bit more than I hate them. So that's that. Kind of moving up here, you have the mesh kind of continues on the tongue. The tongue is the same, thin mesh material. Like Kermit said, right here you got the swoosh, and behind the swoosh is like the tribal kind of gold graphic going down, and that goes all the way down. Laces, standard black, which is still a pretty good accent to the gold. The lining around here is black nubuck. I think that's what the material is. So it's black nubuck. Going here, this is something I liked a lot because I just like the whole dynamic of, one shoe on this side, another shoe on this side. So I like this whole dynamic of contrasting white and gold and then black and gold is really cool to me. You got the black nubuck on this side instead of the suede, and that also accents with this gold swoosh. Again, you got the speckled gold white midsole going around. Here in the back of the shoe, same. You got the white little, I don't know what to call that, a panel, I guess. You have that white panel going around the back, and then you have the pull tab in the back, which is that same gold tribal-esque print or whatever. And here's the thing I was telling you about the midsole. You might be able to get it. It's like it's an extremely fuzzy, like comfortable feeling. It's the same it feels like it's like the rubber insole from the regular Roshes, basically wrapped around in like I don't know, like a fuzzy, just like a fuzzy material. So it has that same comfortness, but it's kind of added to an extent because it has just like that softness inside that, it comforts your foot. So that's the shoe. I like it a lot. That was a pretty quick review. It's actually a pretty simple shoe, and I don't really think, one thing that I forgot would be the sole. There's really not that much to review because, it's just a standard Roshe Run sole. It's just plain white. If there was gold speckled, maybe that'd be pretty cool. Actually, never mind. I'm getting over myself, but it's just a standard white sole. So, a really nice shoe. Like I said, it's a simple shoe. I'm really scared of wearing them because I don't want to get them messy. Even in the sole, it's white, so, you never know what could happen to your shoes. So, overall, amazing shoe. One of my top 5 favorites in my whole collection. So, yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching today's show. As always, please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and follow us on Twitter.
And guys, without further ado, I'd like to invite you guys again to join us next week. As always, pleasure having you as always. See you next time.
Guess who's back, dirty? STL Derby. I'm like Magic to Kareem, man. You tell me I ain't worthy. I ain't speaking about a jersey, I'm speaking about income. Did you hear that, Elizabeth? Here come the big one. I put more money in the community than you got in your budget. I want my put your advance to the toilet, then flush it. My last stand.